BTS News Today. In the silence that hung between the walls of their rehearsal room, an unexpected surprise slid from Jungkook's lips, hit Jimin with such force that the whole room fell silent. At that moment, there was no other sound than a breathless exhalation. The faint clang of the clock on the wall and the sudden beating of the heart sounded much louder than usual. The day actually started like a normal day. Jungkook and Jimin, two best friends and group mates who have spent more than a decade together under the spotlight of the world, spending time together, review their past memories while preparing a small project for the army, their loyal fans. No one guessed that behind a cheerful smile and a carefree laugh, Jungkook keeps something that he has been holding back for a long time. From the beginning of their meeting, Jungkook always looked at Jimin as someone who was more than just Hyung or a friend. For Jungkook, Jimin is a birth, a figure who always pulls him back to reality when the pressure of the world feels so heavy. But that sense of awe, affection, and attachment over the years only Jungkook kept to himself, locked up in his heart, hidden behind every little joke and every warm hug on stage. But that day, something inside Jungkook changed. Maybe it's because of the silence of the room, perhaps because of the emotional burden that he has been harboring for too long, or maybe it's because Jimin's eyes are so honest, as if asking Jungkook to finally speak. With a voice that trembled slowly but surely, Jungkook opened his mouth. "Hyung," he said softly, his eyes looking deeply into Jimin's eyes, as if trying to convey everything that cannot be said with just words. There's something I have to say. Something I've kept for a long time." Jimin, who initially smiled warmly, now sharpened his gaze. He could feel the weight of Jungkook's words before they were even spoken. He could feel that whatever it was, will change something between them, either a little or a lot. "I'm afraid to say it," Jungkook continued, his voice almost like a whisper, "because I'm afraid I'm going to change everything. But I know I can't keep quiet." The room was getting quiet. Even the world outside the window, with all its bustle, as if to stop spinning just to wait for the next sentence from Jungkook. Jungkook paused, swallowed, catching his breath. "I have always admired you, more than I can express. Not just because you're my Hyung, or because we're a group. It's because of you. You make me feel safe. You make me feel like I can be anyone without fear of being judged." And Hyung, Jungkook bowed his head, trying to hold back the tears that began to wane in his eyes. "Pelipuk, I think I love you much more deeply than I have ever admitted." The greeting glides through the air. Hanging between them was like a great secret that had just been opened. Jimin was silent, his eyes wide open, his lips slightly open. I wanted to say something, but those words didn't come. He looked at Jungkook, looking at the man he had always looked after, he's always protecting, and now it reveals something he never even imagined he would hear directly. The silence lasted a few seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. Jimin took a deep breath, trying to understand the turmoil of feelings that suddenly exploded inside him. There was a shock, of course, but there is also something warm, something that made his chest tight yet comfortable at the same time. In such a slow but meaningful motion, Jimin stepped forward. She raised her hand and gently touched Jungkook's cheek, wiping the tears that fell without permission out of the corner of the man's eye. And then, without saying anything, he pulled Jungkook into a warm embrace full of acceptance, full of affection, full of gratitude. Jungkook returned the hug, his body trembling from the release of emotions that had been held for too long. They stand like that long enough. Let the silence speak for them. Let your emotions flow without the need for words. When they finally let go of the hug, Jimin smiled, a small but sincere smile that makes Jungkook feel like the whole world is back in color. Jungkook, he said softly, his voice almost whispering, "You always have a place in my heart." Those words, as simple and short as they were the answer Jungkook needed. No need for big promises, no need for grandiose declarations. All they need is recognition of their pure and unconditional feelings. News of this emotional moment began to spread, not because they announced it, but because someone accidentally passed by while they were talking in the open space of the studio was able to hear part of their conversation. Within hours, rumors began to circulate among the army. The hashtags #Jungkook confession and #Jimin reaction immediately became trending topics on various social media platforms. Armies from all over the world reacted with a variety of emotions. Some are overwhelmed, some are crying happily. There are also those who feel increasingly confident in the true closeness between the BTS members that they have always been proud of. Many felt that what Jungkook did was a form of true courage, daring to express his deepest feelings to someone who meant so much to him, without fear of the consequences. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the relationship between Jungkook and Jimin deepens. They never explicitly discussed the events of that day to the public, But everyone who watched closely could see subtle changes between them. More frequent small touches, longer stares, deeper smiles. Something invisible but very real has changed their dynamics. For Jungkook, that day was the day when the weight that had been squeezing his chest finally came off. For him, expressing feelings is not about looking for answers, it's about being honest with yourself and the people you trust the most. For Jimin, that day was the day when he realized how much of an influence he had on Jungkook's life, and how deep their relationship really is. No more distance, no more doubt. There is only closeness born of trust and unconditional love. On many occasions after, when they performed together on stage, there were small signals that reminded the army of the day. The way Jungkook looks at Jimin while singing, the way Jimin gently touched Jungkook's back as he passed behind him, the way they smiled at each other in silence before the music started playing. That moment became a personal memory that only the two of them really understood, and maybe that's what makes it even more valuable. A little secret in the middle of a world that is always watching them, a private space that no one can penetrate, no matter how hard the world tries. And in all of that, one thing becomes very clear: true compassion does not need worldwide recognition. It only takes two brave hearts to trust each other. After the emotional incident, something inside Jungkook changed. He was no longer holding back as before. There was a tremendous relief flowing in him, as if all the stress he had accumulated over the years had finally found a way out. It becomes lighter, more alive, and it was visible to everyone around him. Jimin, on the other hand, carried the confession with sweet caution. He knew that their relationship had long since gone deeper than simple words could define. But hearing Jungkook admit with a trembling voice and teary eyes had shaken something in him. He feels more responsible, more protective, but it is also more free to show his feelings to Jungkook without hesitation. In their subsequent rehearsals, the mood changed. No more flimsy formalities that sometimes separate a sister and an older brother in a large group. Jungkook looks for Jimin more often with a confident look, and Jimin is happy to welcome him every time. Many staff and managers pay attention, but none of them dared to comment on the changes because they knew, behind all the glitter of the entertainment world, an honest and sincere bond like theirs is something sacred and should not be disturbed. When they perform in major events a few weeks later, the fans also began to feel something different. At a concert, when they sang an emotional ballad, there was a moment when Jungkook looked at Jimin with such a deep look, it was as if the whole world consisted of just the two of them. The camera captures the moment, and in seconds, thousands of GIFs and short clips flooded social media. Army writes passionately, what happened between Jungkook and Jimin? His eyes, the way they looked at each other, it was more than just an ordinary friendship. BTS always talks about love and brotherhood, but this feels like something even more beautiful. Although other members such as Namjoon, Jungkook, Hoseok, Seokjin, and Taeyoon keeps a polite distance over that personal matter, they silently show their support.